The betrayal hit me like ice water in my veins the moment Sarah announced it. Again, I thought, as the familiar ache of being blindsided settled into my chest. But this time, something inside me cracked and was reborn into something harder. Tom and I are so excited to share that we've officially adopted the kids. Sarah beams at my parents across our dining room table, her voice bright and confident. The clinking of silverware stops mid-bite as everyone processes her words. My fork trembles against my plate, creating a tiny metallic sound that somehow feels deafening. I stare at her, my wife of 8 years, the mother of children I've raised since they were toddlers. The children I tuck in every night. The children who call me Daddy. Adopted? My mother sets down her water glass, confusion creasing her forehead. But Tom, aren't you already… Well, legally speaking, there were some complications with the paperwork when we first got custody of Emma and Jake. Sarah continues smoothly, as if she's discussing weekend plans. Her hand reaches across the table and squeezes mine, a gesture that should comfort but instead makes my skin crawl. You know how messy things were with their biological parents. We just wanted to make everything official. The scent of my mother's lavender perfume, usually comforting, now feels suffocating as I struggle to breathe normally. Emma, my 9-year-old daughter, my daughter, looks up from her mashed potatoes with wide eyes. "What's adopted mean?" she asks innocently. My throat constricts. I've never heard this conversation before. We've never discussed adoption. In my mind, I scramble through memories of the past months, searching for clues I must have missed. "It means Daddy Tom is now officially your daddy forever and ever," Sarah explains, her voice saccharine sweet. "Just like how some families are made." Jake, only 6, grins widely. "Cool, does that mean we get a party?" Everyone laughs except me. The sound crashes over me like waves, and I feel myself drowning in their joy while something inside me screams that this is wrong. This is all wrong. "Tom," my father notices my silence. "You look pale, son. Everything all right?" I force my lips into what I hope resembles a smile. "Just overwhelmed with happiness," I manage, the lie burning my tongue like acid. Sarah's grip on my hand tightens, her nails digging slightly into my palm. A warning disguised as affection. Her eyes meet mine across the table, and for just a moment I see something cold there before she blinks it away. "He's been so emotional about the whole process," she says, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "Haven't you, honey?" The endearment feels like a slap. I nod because I don't trust my voice not to crack and expose the panic clawing at my chest. After dinner, as my parents gather their coats and shower the kids with congratulations and hugs, I stand in our hallway feeling like a stranger in my own home. The familiar family photos lining the walls suddenly feel foreign, as if I'm seeing them through someone else's eyes. "Such wonderful news," my mother whispers as she hugs me goodbye. "Those children are so lucky to have you." If only she knew how unlucky I apparently am to have them, at least according to whatever paperwork Sarah signed without my knowledge. As the front door closes behind my parents, Sarah immediately begins clearing dishes, humming cheerfully as if she hadn't just detonated a bomb in my chest. The kids run upstairs to play, their laughter echoing through the house like ghosts of the family I thought we were. "Sarah." My voice comes out hoarser than intended. "Hmm?" She doesn't look up from scraping plates. "When exactly did we file adoption papers?" Now she pauses, her movements stilling for just a heartbeat before resuming. "Oh, you know how these legal things drag on? Months and months of paperwork." She waves a dismissive hand. "I handled most of it since you're so busy with work." The casual dismissal ignites something dangerous in my gut. I don't remember signing anything. She finally turns to face me, and that cold look flickers across her features again before being replaced by practiced concern. Tom, sweetheart, you signed so many documents. Remember? We did it all together in the kitchen one evening while the kids watched their movie. I don't remember. I would remember signing adoption papers for the children I've loved as my own for 3 years. I would remember making that legal commitment to be their father forever. Wouldn't I? Doubt creeps in like poison, making me question my own memory. Have I been so overwhelmed with work stress lately that I could have forgotten something so monumental? Maybe I should look at the paperwork, I say carefully, studying her face. Just to refresh my memory about what we signed? Something flashes in her eyes. Panic? Anger? It's gone so quickly I almost think I imagined it. Of course, she says brightly. I think I filed everything in your study. You know how organized I like to keep your important documents. My study. The room she's been meticulously organizing for months, claiming she wanted to help reduce my stress. The room where I can never find anything anymore because she's moved it all to her better system. I think I'll go check now, I say, testing her reaction. Great! She turns back to the dishes. I'll finish cleaning up and then start the kids' bath time. As I climb the stairs, my legs feel heavy, like I'm walking through quicksand toward a truth I'm not sure I want to discover. The wooden steps creak under my feet, a sound that's always felt like home, but now sounds ominous, like a warning. My study door stands slightly ajar. I push it open and flip on the light, scanning the newly organized space with different eyes. Everything is too neat, too perfect. File folders lined up with military precision, labeled in Sarah's careful handwriting. I find the folder marked Family Legal Documents and carry it to my desk with shaking hands. Inside are medical records, school enrollment forms, insurance documents, and there, near the bottom, a thick packet of adoption paperwork. My heart pounds as I flip through the pages, scanning for my signature. There. My name printed clearly on multiple lines, witnessed and notarized. But as I stare at the signatures, something cold settles in my stomach. The handwriting looks like mine, but it feels wrong somehow. Too careful. Too perfect. I grab a pen from my desk drawer and write my name on a scrap of paper, comparing it to the adoption documents. Close, but not quite right. The T in Tom is different. The loop in the M is too round. My hands tremble as I flip to the section labeled Biological Father Information. Status? Unknown. Name? Unknown. Contact information? Unknown. Unknown. I am unknown. According to these papers, I don't exist. According to these papers, my children, the children I've fed and clothed and loved and worried over for 3 years, have no father. The room spins around me as the implications crash down. If I'm listed as unknown, then I have no legal rights, no claim to the children I consider my own. Sarah has made herself their sole legal guardian, and I am nothing. Tom? Sarah's voice drifts up from downstairs. Everything okay up there? You've been quiet for a while. I carefully return the documents to their folder, my movements mechanical. Everything looks exactly as I found it. Except now I know the truth. Just looking for something, I call back, surprised by how normal my voice sounds. Take your time, honey. Honey. The endearment that once made me smile now tastes like betrayal. I sit in my chair, staring at the folder, as pieces of a puzzle I didn't know I was solving begin clicking into place. Sarah's insistence on handling all the legal paperwork alone. Her sudden interest in organizing my study. The way she'd dismissed my questions about the adoption timeline. The way she'd announced it tonight like a fait accompli, as if my opinion didn't matter. Because apparently it doesn't. I pull out my phone and photograph each page of the adoption documents, my hand steadier now as purpose replaces panic. Whatever game Sarah is playing, I'm no longer going to be an unknowing participant. As I close the folder and return it to its precise position, a business card falls out from between two other documents. I pick it up, reading the embossed text. Marcus Webb, private investigator discreet. Professional. Results. Why would Sarah have a private investigator's business card filed with our family documents? Daddy, Emma's voice echoes from the bathroom. Mommy says you need to come help with my hair. Coming, sweetheart, I call back, slipping the business card into my pocket. As I head toward the bathroom, toward my children who may no longer legally be mine, I realize something has fundamentally shifted inside me. The man who sat down to dinner tonight no longer exists. In his place stands someone reborn, someone who will fight for the truth, no matter how much it hurts. Sleep doesn't come that night. I lie beside Sarah, listening to her peaceful breathing while my mind races through 3 years of memories, searching for signs I should have noticed. The soft rustle of sheets each time she shifts feels amplified in the darkness. And I scrutinize every sound, wondering what else I've missed. At 3 a.m., I finally give up and slip downstairs to my study. The house creaks around me as I settle into my desk chair, the familiar sounds now feeling like warnings. I spread the adoption documents across my desk under the circle of light from my reading lamp, examining each page with the intensity of an archaeologist uncovering ancient secrets. The more I study my supposed signature, the more certain I become that someone has practiced forging it. Not perfectly. There are subtle differences that reveal the deception to someone who knows their own handwriting intimately. The O in Tom is slightly too round. The final M lacks the sharp angle I always make when I sign quickly. I pull out a magnifying glass from my desk drawer and examine the witness signatures. Both are notarized by the same person, Rebecca Martinez, Notary Public. The date is from 2 months ago, a Tuesday when I was definitely at work, attending our quarterly budget meeting. I remember that day clearly because the meeting ran 3 hours over, and I didn't get home until nearly 8 p.m. Sarah had dinner waiting, apologetic about how late it was. She'd seemed unusually cheerful that evening, almost giddy. I'd attributed it to relief that I was finally home, but now I wonder if she was celebrating something else entirely. A memory surfaces, sharp and clear. That same Tuesday evening, after dinner, Sarah had asked me to sign some insurance paperwork while we watched TV. Routine stuff, she'd said. Just updates to our policies. I'd signed 3 or 4 documents without really reading them, trusting my wife implicitly. The bitter taste of betrayal fills my mouth like old coffee. How many of those documents were actually adoption papers? How many times did I unknowingly participate in my own legal erasure? I photographed the notary's information and begin a methodical review of every document in the folder. Medical forms listing Sarah as primary emergency contact, not me. School enrollment papers with my name nowhere to be found. Insurance documents that name Sarah as sole policyholder for the children. It's as if someone has been systematically erasing me from their lives, one document at a time. The private investigator's business card sits on my desk like an accusation. I turn it over, looking for handwritten notes or appointment times, but it's clean, professional, anonymous. My computer hums to life as I begin searching for Marcus Webb online. His website is sleek and professional, specializing in matrimonial investigations and custody disputes. The testimonials are vague but positive. satisfied clients who discovered uncomfortable truths about their spouses. A photo shows a middle-aged man with kind eyes and graying temples, someone who looks trustworthy, someone who deals with people whose worlds are crumbling. Someone like me. I'm reaching for my phone to call when Sarah's voice drifts down from upstairs. "Tom, what are you doing down there?" My heart pounds as I quickly minimize the browser window and shove the documents back into their folder. "Just checking some work emails," I call back, proud of how steady my voice sounds. "It's almost 4 a.m. Come back to bed." The demand in her tone makes something rebellious flare in my chest. When did she start telling me what to do instead of asking? "Just finishing up," I reply, but I'm already moving, returning everything to its precise position. I can't afford to let her know I'm investigating. Not yet. As I climb the stairs, my phone weighs heavy in my pajama pocket, Marcus Webb's contact information burning like a secret. Sarah is sitting up in bed when I enter our room, her hair messy from sleep but her eyes sharp and alert. "Everything okay?" she asks, studying my face in the dim light filtering through our curtains. "Couldn't sleep. You know how my mind races sometimes." She pats the bed beside her, a gesture that once would have felt welcoming but now feels like a trap. "Come here. Let me help you relax." I slide under the covers, hyper-aware of every point where our bodies might touch. Sarah's hand finds my chest, her fingers tracing patterns that used to soothe, but now feel invasive. "You seem tense," she murmurs against my shoulder. The scent of her vanilla body lotion, once comforting, now makes my stomach turn. "Is work getting to you again?" The irony of her concern would be laughable if it weren't so painful. "Just the usual stress," I lie. Her hand moves lower, a familiar invitation that makes my skin crawl. How can she touch me like this after what she's done? How can she lie beside me every night, knowing she's stolen my children from me legally? "Sarah?" I start, then stop. What can I say that won't expose what I know? Her lips brush my neck, and I have to fight not to pull away. "Do you ever think about what would happen if something happened to us? To our marriage?" She stills, her hand freezing on my chest. "What kind of something?" "I don't know. Divorce, I guess. Do you think about how we'd handle custody of the kids?" The silence stretches too long. When she finally speaks, her voice is carefully neutral. "That's a morbid thing to think about at 4 a.m., don't you think?" "Maybe. But don't most couples discuss these things? Just in case?" Another pause. Then she laughs, but it sounds forced. "Tom, we're not getting divorced. We love each other. We love our family." She emphasizes the word "our" in a way that makes my skin prickle. "Of course not. I was just curious about your thoughts." "Well, stop being curious about such depressing topics." Her tone has shifted, becoming sharper. "The kids are ours. Both of ours. Forever. That's what the adoption papers made official, remember?" There it is, the casual reminder of my powerlessness, delivered with a kiss to my collarbone. "Right," I whisper, "forever." She settles back against her pillow, apparently satisfied that she's reasserted control. Within minutes, her breathing evens out into sleep, leaving me staring at the ceiling as dawn approaches. Forever. Such a simple word that now feels like a threat. When my alarm goes off 3 hours later, I'm still awake. Sarah stretches beside me like a cat, all graceful movements and satisfied sighs. "Good morning, handsome," she purrs, as if our middle-of-the-night conversation never happened. I force myself to smile and kiss her cheek. "Morning. I'll grab the shower first if that's okay." "Of course, I'll start breakfast for the kids." The hot water feels good against my tense muscles, but it can't wash away the knowledge that my wife has betrayed me in the most fundamental way possible. As I stand under the spray, I make a decision that feels both terrifying and liberating. I'm going to call Marcus Webb. But first, I need to be smarter about this. If Sarah has been planning this deception for months, then she's clearly more cunning than I gave her credit for. I can't afford to underestimate her anymore. Downstairs, the kitchen buzzes with typical morning chaos. Emma argues with Sarah about wearing her pink sweater versus her blue one, while Jake attempts to build a tower out of cereal pieces. The sounds of my family, regardless of what any paperwork says, fill the space with warmth and normalcy. For a moment, I almost convinced myself I imagined everything. This is my life. These are my children. Sarah is my wife, making pancakes and mediating sibling disputes with the patience of someone who genuinely loves being a mother. Then she catches my eye over Emma's head and smiles, and I see that coldness flicker again behind her expression. "Daddy, look." Jake holds up his cereal tower proudly. "It's as tall as me." "That's amazing, buddy." I ruffle his hair, memorizing the feeling of his small head under my palm. What if this is taken away from me? What if I lose the right to these everyday moments? "Don't play with your food, Jake," Sarah chides gently, but there's steel underneath her sweet tone. "Eat your breakfast so you're not late for school." As I watch her interact with the children, our children, I notice things I've been blind to before. The way she positions herself between them and me during conversations, how she answers for them when I ask them direct questions, the subtle ways she's been establishing herself as their primary parent, while reducing my role to that of a friendly bystander. "I might be late tonight," I announce, testing a theory. "Big project deadline at work." "Oh?" Sarah's hand pauses as she flips a pancake. "How late?" "Maybe 8 or 9. Depends on how the client meeting goes." "That's too bad. The kids will miss you at dinner." She slides perfectly golden pancakes onto Emma's plate. "Won't you, sweethearts?" "Can we wait for Daddy?" Emma asks immediately. "Oh, honey, you know how cranky you get when you eat too late," Sarah responds before I can answer. "But we'll save Daddy some leftovers." There it is, the subtle assertion of authority. Sarah makes the decisions about the children's schedules, their meals, their routines. I'm just the man who happens to live here and contribute financially. "Actually," I say, feeling reckless, "maybe I'll make it home by 7. I'd hate to miss dinner with my family." The word "my" hangs in the air like a challenge. Sarah's smile tightens almost imperceptibly. "Of course, honey. Your family will be here whenever you make it home." But as I kiss the kids goodbye and head to work, I can't shake the feeling that Sarah is already planning for a future where I won't be making it home for dinner at all. The Marcus Webb business card burns in my wallet like evidence of my own rebellion. By the time I reach my office, I've made up my mind. It's time to fight back. I wait until lunch to call Marcus Webb. The office around me buzzes with typical midweek energy, but I feel disconnected from it all, like I'm watching normal life through glass. I close my office door and dial the number with hands that barely tremble. "Webb Investigations," comes a gravelly voice after 2 rings. "Mr. Webb, this is Tom Harrison. I found your business card and I think I need your help." A pause. "Tom Harrison, are you calling about an existing case or a new matter?" The question confuses me. I'm not sure I understand. "Has someone already hired me to investigate you, Mr. Harrison, or are you looking to hire me to investigate someone else?" My mouth goes dry. "Someone hired you to investigate me?" Another pause, longer this time. "I think we should meet in person. Can you come to my office this afternoon?" Yes, what time?" 3 o'clock. "And Mr. Harrison, don't tell anyone about this meeting. The line goes dead, leaving me staring at my phone as puzzle pieces rearrange themselves in my mind. Someone has already hired Marcus Webb. Someone who knows enough about my situation to investigate me. Someone like my wife. The afternoon crawls by with agonizing slowness. I can barely concentrate on work, going through the motions of meetings and emails while my thoughts spiral. Why would Sarah hire a private investigator to look into me? What was she trying to find? Or more terrifyingly, what was she trying to prove? Webb's office sits in a nondescript building downtown, the kind of place people go when they need uncomfortable truths uncovered. The hallway smells of old coffee and industrial cleaning supplies as I find Suite 314. Marcus Webb himself opens the door, older than his website photo, with tired eyes that have seen too much human weakness. His handshake is firm, professional. "Mr. Harrison, come in." His office is spartanly furnished, but clean. A desk, 2 chairs, filing cabinets, and a single plant struggling for life on the windowsill. No family photos, no personal touches. This is a space for secrets, not comfort. "Coffee?" he offers, gesturing to a machine in the corner. "No, thank you." I settle into the chair across from his desk, trying to project calm while my heart hammers against my ribs. Webb opens a file folder and studies its contents. The silence stretches until I can't stand it anymore. "You said someone hired you to investigate me." "Your wife, Sarah Harrison." He looks up, gauging my reaction. 3 months ago." The bitter taste of betrayal floods my mouth again. "What did she want to know?" "Initially, your financial situation, bank accounts, investment portfolios, debt obligations, standard due diligence for someone considering divorce." Divorce. The word hits like a physical blow, even though part of me suspected this was coming. "What else?" Webb flips a page. "Your daily routines, work schedule, where you go after hours, who you associate with." He pauses. "She was particularly interested in whether you might be having an affair." I almost laugh at the irony. "And?" "You're remarkably faithful, Mr. Harrison. Almost boringly so. Straight home after work most days. Occasional drinks with colleagues on Fridays. Weekend family activities. No suspicious phone calls, no secret meetings, no unexplained absences." That must have disappointed her. "Actually, it seemed to frustrate her. She kept pushing for more surveillance, convinced we were missing something." Webb closes the file. "That's when things got interesting." "How so?" "She started asking about your relationship with the children. Specifically, she wanted documentation of any signs that you might be an unfit parent." The words hit like ice water. "Unfit how?" "Drinking problems, anger issues, inappropriate behavior, anything that might suggest the children would be better off without you in their lives." I grip the arms of my chair to keep my hands steady. "And what did you find?" "The opposite. You're clearly devoted to those kids. Patient, involved, loving. Several neighbors mentioned how good you are with them. Their teachers speak highly of you. By all accounts, you're an exemplary father figure. Father figure, not father. Father figure." "That's when I started getting uncomfortable with the case," Webb continues. "Your wife wasn't looking for evidence of wrongdoing. She was looking for reasons to justify something she'd already decided to do. Remove me from their lives. That was my assessment, yes. So I told her I couldn't continue the investigation without cause." "But you kept her business card." Webb's expression darkens. "Mr. Harrison, in my line of work, you develop instincts about people. Your wife." He pauses, choosing his words carefully. "Your wife strikes me as someone who doesn't give up easily when she wants something." "What do you think she wants?" "Complete control. The children, the house, the assets. Everything that matters to you. And she wants you to have no legal recourse to fight back." The truth hits with crystalline clarity. The adoption papers listing me as unknown. The systematic documentation of Sarah as the children's primary caregiver. The private investigator trying to find evidence of my unfitness as a parent. "She's been planning this for months," I whisper. "Longer than that, I'd guess. What you've described sounds like someone who's been very carefully laying groundwork." I tell him about the adoption papers, the forged signatures, the way Sarah has been inserting herself as the sole decision-maker for the children. Webb listens without interruption, occasionally making notes. "Have you considered that the children might not be biologically yours?" he asks when I finish. The question stops me cold. "What?" "It's the missing piece that would explain everything. If you're not their biological father, and she's managed to adopt them as a single parent by listing the father as unknown, then you have no legal standing whatsoever." "But I've been raising them for 3 years. Doesn't that count for anything?" "Not in the eyes of the law, unfortunately. Biological parentage and legal adoption trump emotional bonds in custody situations." The room spins slightly as implications cascade through my mind. "You think she planned this from the beginning?" "I think your wife is an intelligent woman who's been several steps ahead of you this entire time." Webb leans forward. "The question is, what do you want to do about it?" "I want my children back." "Even if they're not biologically yours?" The answer comes without hesitation. "They're mine in every way that matters." Webb nods approvingly. "Then we need to move fast. If she's gone to this much trouble to establish legal control, she may be planning to relocate with the children. Once they're out of state, your options become much more limited." "Relocate where?" "That's what we need to find out, along with a lot of other things." He pulls out a legal pad. "I'll need you to document everything. Every conversation, every suspicious behavior, every inconsistency in her story. We also need to challenge those adoption papers. Forged signatures are a felony, and if we can prove she committed fraud, she could go to jail." "She could, but more importantly, it would invalidate the adoption and give you grounds to fight for custody." As we discuss strategy, I feel something I haven't experienced in months: hope. For the first time since last night's dinner revelation, I'm not just reacting to Sarah's manipulations. I'm planning my own moves. "One more thing," Webb says as our meeting concludes. "Don't change your behavior at home. Act normal, keep your routine. If she suspects you know what she's done, she might accelerate whatever timeline she's working toward." "How long do we have?" "Hard to say, but given the complexity of what she's accomplished so far, I'd guess weeks rather than months." As I shake his hand and head for the door, Webb's voice stops me. "Mr. Harrison, for what it's worth, those kids are lucky to have someone willing to fight for them." The drive home feels different, purposeful rather than defeated. I may have been outmaneuvered up to this point, but the game isn't over. Sarah thinks she holds all the cards, but she doesn't know I've found Marcus Webb's business card. She doesn't know I'm fighting back. The house looks the same when I pull into our driveway, but I see it through new eyes now. This building that I've called home for 5 years might not be mine much longer. The mortgage is in both our names, but if Sarah can prove she's the children's sole legal guardian, she could argue for primary residence. "Daddy!" Jake crashes into my legs as I walk through the front door, his enthusiasm a balm against the cynical calculations filling my head. "Hey, buddy, how was school?" "We learned about dinosaurs. Did you know some of them were as big as school buses?" "That's amazing." I lift him up, memorizing the weight of his small body in my arms. "Where's your sister?" "Emma's doing homework in her room, and Mommy's cooking dinner." He wraps his arms around my neck. "She made your favorite, Spaghetti and meatballs. My favorite. Such a thoughtful gesture from a wife who's systematically destroying my life. Sarah appears in the kitchen doorway, apron tied around her waist, looking every inch the devoted homemaker. "You're home early. I thought you said you'd be late." Meeting ended sooner than expected. I set Jake down and kiss Sarah's cheek, hating how natural the gesture feels despite everything I now know. Perfect timing. Dinner's almost ready. She studies my face with concern that might be genuine or might be performance art. "You look tired. Rough day?" "The usual." I follow her into the kitchen, watching as she moves efficiently between stove and counter. The domestic scene feels surreal. My wife preparing a meal for our family while secretly planning to take that family away from me. "How's the Morrison project coming along?" she asks, stirring sauce with practiced ease. We slip into the comfortable rhythm of spousal conversation, discussing work and weekend plans and Emma's upcoming school play. Sarah is charming and attentive, asking follow-up questions and laughing at my stories. If I didn't know better, I'd think she was genuinely interested in my life. But I do know better now. As we sit down to dinner, I watch Sarah interact with the children with new awareness. She's a good mother. I can't deny that. She's patient with Jake's stories about dinosaurs and helps Emma work through her frustration with long division. She remembers to cut Jake's meatballs into smaller pieces and automatically refills Emma's milk glass when it's empty. She's also systematically erasing me from their lives. "Daddy, will you help me with my science project this weekend?" Emma asks around a mouthful of spaghetti. "Of course, sweetheart. What's it about?" "Solar system models. I want to make Saturn with real rings." "We'll make the best Saturn anyone's ever seen," I promise, ignoring the way Sarah's jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. "Actually," Sarah interjects smoothly, "I already told Mrs. Peterson I'd help with the project. Remember, Em? We discussed it yesterday." Emma's face falls slightly. "But I want Daddy to help too." "Well, we don't want to overwhelm you with too many helpers," Sarah says with a laugh that doesn't reach her eyes. "Besides, Daddy's so busy with work lately." There it is again. The subtle assertion of her primary role in their lives while positioning me as the absent provider. How many times has she had this type of conversation with them when I wasn't around? "I'm never too busy for my kids," I say firmly, meeting Sarah's gaze across the table. Something flickers in her eyes. Surprise at my pushback, perhaps, or calculation about how to respond. "Of course not," she says finally. "We'll all work on it together. Won't that be fun?" But I can hear the threat underneath her cheerful tone. "Don't challenge me. Not in front of them." The rest of dinner passes in careful normalcy, both of us performing our roles while the children remain obliviously happy between us. As Sarah bathes the kids and I clean the kitchen, I wonder how long we can maintain this facade. And I wonder what Sarah will do when she realizes I'm no longer an unknowing participant in my own destruction. For the next 3 days, I become a student of my own life, watching Sarah with the intensity of a surveillance expert. Every phone call she takes in another room. Every time she checks her email when she thinks I'm not looking. Every moment of distraction that crosses her face. I catalog it all. The patterns emerge quickly once I know what to look for. Sarah receives text messages at odd hours that make her smile in ways I haven't seen in months. She's started taking her phone with her everywhere, even to the bathroom. When it buzzes during dinner, she glances at it with an eagerness that makes my stomach clench. "Work?" I ask after the third interruption during Jake's story about his art class. "Just my sister," she says without looking up from typing her response. "You know how chatty Lisa gets." But I've met Sarah's sister. Lisa communicates exclusively in phone calls that last 2 hours or 5 minutes, never text messages. and definitely not at 8 p.m. on a Tuesday. On Thursday morning, Sarah announces she needs to run errands after dropping the kids at school. "What kind of errands?" I ask casually as I pour coffee. "Oh, grocery store, dry cleaners, maybe swing by the bank to discuss our mortgage refinancing." "Mortgage refinancing? Since when?" Sarah's hand stills on her purse strap. "I mentioned it last week. Interest rates are so good right now we could save hundreds of dollars a month." I don't remember this conversation, but then again, I don't remember signing adoption papers either. My confidence in my own memory has been thoroughly shaken. "Maybe I should come with you. Big financial decisions and all that." "Don't be silly. You hate dealing with bank paperwork." She kisses my cheek quickly. "Besides, you have that client presentation today." She's right about the presentation, but the dismissal stings anyway. When did I become someone whose opinion wasn't needed for major financial decisions? After Sarah leaves with the kids, I do something I've never done in 8 years of marriage. I search through her things. Her nightstand drawer yields the usual collection of hand cream, reading glasses, and lip balm. But tucked beneath old receipts, I find a small appointment card for Dr. Jennifer Walsh, family counselor. The appointment was 3 weeks ago. Marriage counseling? Sarah never mentioned wanting counseling. In fact, every time I've suggested we might benefit from talking to someone about our communication issues, she's dismissed the idea entirely. I pocket the card and continue searching. Her jewelry box contains the usual suspects, but hidden beneath the velvet lining, I find a second phone. My hands tremble as I power it on. No password protection. Sarah's always been careless about digital security. The phone buzzes to life, revealing a text thread that makes my blood run cold. "Can't wait to see you today. Same place as last week?" "Yes, 10 a.m. Tom suspects nothing." "Good. Did you get the paperwork finalized?" "All done. David says once we're married, the adoption will be uncontestable." "David? My wife is texting someone named David about marrying him and adopting my children." I scroll through weeks of messages, each one a knife twist in my chest. Plans for their future together. Discussions about relocating to David's home state of Oregon. Calculations about how much money they can extract from our divorce settlement. And worst of all, conversations about the children that treat them like accessories to be acquired rather than human beings to be loved. The kids will adjust quickly. Children are resilient. What if Emma asks about Tom? I'll tell her he chose work over family. She'll understand eventually. The phone slips from my numb fingers, clattering onto the dresser top. The sharp sound echoes through our bedroom like a gunshot, and I struggle to breathe as the magnitude of Sarah's betrayal crashes over me. She's not just leaving me. She's stealing my children and rewriting their history to erase me completely. My phone buzzes with a text from Marcus Webb. "Free to meet today? Found something you need to see." I text back with shaking fingers. "On my way." The drive to Webb's office passes in a haze of fury and heartbreak. The scent of Sarah's perfume lingers in my car from yesterday when I drove her to her hair appointment, the same perfume I now know she wears for another man. Webb takes one look at my face and pours me a cup of coffee without asking. "You look like hell," he observes. I found her burner phone. The words taste like ashes. She's having an affair with someone named David. They're planning to get married and take the kids to Oregon. Webb nods grimly. "David Morrison. Divorced attorney, specializes in family law. Lives in Portland." "You know about him?" "I've been doing some digging since our last meeting." Webb opens a thick file folder. "Your wife has been very busy, Mr. Harrison. Bank accounts opened in her name only. Credit cards you don't know about. A rental agreement for a storage unit across town." He slides a photograph across the desk. Sarah and a tall, silver-haired man embracing outside a restaurant I don't recognize. The timestamp shows it was taken last Tuesday, the same day she claimed to be running errands. How long? I ask. Best I can determine, about 6 months. But here's where it gets interesting. Webb pulls out another document. David Morrison handled Sarah's first adoption application, the one where she listed you as an unknown father. The betrayal deepens. Her lawyer is her lover. More than that, he's the one who coached her through the entire process. How to establish herself as a single mother legally. How to document a pattern of your absence from the children's lives. How to build a case for relocating with them post-divorce. I study the photograph, memorizing the face of the man who's helping to destroy my family. David Morrison looks successful, confident, the kind of man who's used to getting what he wants. What about the adoption papers? Can we prove they're fraudulent? Webb's expression darkens. That's where we have a problem. I had a handwriting expert examine the signatures you photographed. The forgery is good, very good. Without the original documents for comparison, proving fraud will be difficult. But not impossible? Not impossible, but expensive and time-consuming. And in the meantime, Sarah has legal custody of the children. The coffee tastes bitter as I process this information. So, what are my options? Limited, but not hopeless. We need to catch her in the act of deception, document her affair, her hidden assets, her plans to relocate, build a case that she's an unfit mother due to fraud and manipulation. That could take months. Maybe. Or maybe we get lucky and force her hand sooner. Webb leans forward. How well do you know your wife, Mr. Harrison? Is she the type to confess when confronted, or will she double down on her lies? I think about the woman I've lived with for 8 years. Sarah has always been proud, stubborn, unwilling to admit mistakes. But she's also practical. If cornered, she might try to negotiate rather than fight. She'll try to spin it, I decide. Make herself the victim somehow. Then we need irrefutable evidence before we confront her. Something she can't explain away or blame on you. Webb outlines a plan that makes my stomach churn. Surveillance of Sarah's meetings with David, documentation of her secret financial activities, recording devices to capture conversations about her plans. It feels like I'm becoming the villain in my own marriage, I confess. Mr. Harrison, your wife forged legal documents to steal your children. You're not the villain here. As I drive home, Webb's words echo in my mind. Sarah has committed multiple felonies in her quest to erase me from our family. The woman I loved and trusted has been systematically destroying my life for months while sharing her bed with another man. By the time I pull into our driveway, the heartbreak has crystallized into something harder and more useful. Determination. The house smells like pot roast when I enter, and I can hear Sarah humming in the kitchen. Such a domestic scene, hiding such ugly truths underneath. How were the errands? I ask, hanging up my coat. Productive, she calls back. The bank thinks we can definitely refinance at a better rate. Another lie, delivered with casual ease. How many others have I swallowed over the months? Emma runs downstairs, backpack in hand. Daddy, I got an A on my spelling test. That's fantastic, sweetheart. I sweep her into a hug, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo. I'm so proud of you. Mommy said we could celebrate with ice cream after dinner. Did she? That sounds perfect. Sarah appears in the doorway, dish towel in hand, watching our interaction with an expression I can't quite read. How was your day? She asks. The usual, meetings, presentations, corporate drudgery? I set Emma down and meet Sarah's eyes. How about yours? Besides the bank, I mean. Something flickers across her face. Caution, maybe, or calculation. Just errands. You know how boring my days are compared to your important business meetings? The self-deprecating comment is designed to deflect, but I hear the subtle accusation underneath. I'm the absent husband who considers his work more important than his family. Except I don't. I never have. Your days aren't boring, I say carefully. Taking care of our family is the most important job in the world. The word "our" hangs between us like a challenge. Sarah's grip tightens on the dish towel. Of course, she says. Our family? That night, as we go through the motions of our evening routine, dinner conversation, homework help, bedtime stories, I find myself memorizing details I've taken for granted. The way Jake insists on arranging his stuffed animals in a specific order before sleep. How Emma always asks for one more story and tries to negotiate for 15 more minutes of reading time. These moments that have defined my life as a father may be numbered, and I can't waste any of them. After the kids are asleep, Sarah and I settle into our usual spots on the couch to watch TV. She curls up against my side like she has for years, and I have to fight the urge to pull away. The vanilla scent of her lotion mingles with something else, a cologne I don't recognize. David's cologne, I realize. She still smells like him. Tom? Sarah's voice is soft, almost vulnerable. Can I ask you something? Of course. Do you ever think about what your life would have been like if we'd never met? If you'd married someone else? Had different children? The question feels like a trap, but I answer honestly. No, I can't imagine loving anyone the way I love Emma and Jake. They're my whole world. Sarah is quiet for a long moment. Even though they're not biologically yours? The air leaves my lungs. What? She sits up, turning to face me with an expression that's equal parts nervous and defiant. I said, even though they're not biologically yours. You knew that, didn't you? The casual delivery of this life-altering information makes my head spin. What do you mean? Oh, Tom. Her voice takes on a patronizing tone, as if she's explaining something obvious to a child. Surely you figured it out by now. Emma and Jake aren't your biological children. Their father was my ex-boyfriend, Marcus. But he wanted nothing to do with them, so when we got together... She trails off, letting me fill in the blanks. But her revelation doesn't feel like a confession. It feels like another manipulation. Why are you telling me this now? Sarah's eyes search my face, looking for something. Because I think it's time we were honest with each other about what this family really is. What do you mean? I mean, you've been a wonderful father figure, Tom. The kids adore you, but we both know that biology matters in ways we can't ignore forever. Father figure. Those words again, designed to diminish my role in their lives. Biology doesn't matter to me, I say firmly. I love them completely. I know you do, but what if their biological father wanted to be involved again? What if he'd gotten his life together and wanted to be a real father to them? The question hangs in the air like a threat. Is she suggesting that Marcus, the absent biological father, wants back into the children's lives? Or is this another layer of her deception? Has Marcus contacted you? I ask. Not exactly, but David thinks... She stops abruptly, her eyes widening as she realizes what she's revealed. David? Who's David? Sarah's face cycles through several expressions: panic, calculation, and finally, resignation. David Morrison. He's a family attorney I've been consulting about our situation. What situation? Tom, we need to talk, really talk, about the future of our family and what's best for everyone involved. But I'm not ready for that conversation. Not yet. I need more time to gather evidence, to build my case, to prepare for the battle I now know is coming. I'm tired, I say, standing up from the couch. Maybe we should talk tomorrow when we're both fresh." Relief flickers across Sarah's face. She's not ready either. She's revealed too much too soon. "Of course. Tomorrow." As I head upstairs, I can feel her watching me. The game has shifted again, and we both know it. Sarah has shown her hand partially, and I've revealed that I'm not as oblivious as she thought. Tomorrow, the real confrontation begins. But tonight I need to call Marcus Webb and tell him that Sarah just confirmed everything we suspected, and that she's planning something even worse than we imagined. I don't sleep that night. Instead, I lie in bed listening to Sarah's breathing and processing the earthquake she's detonated in our marriage. The children I've loved as my own for 3 years aren't biologically mine. Their father is someone named Marcus, who wanted nothing to do with them. Until now, apparently. Every memory reshapes itself through this new lens. Sarah's insistence that we move in together quickly after we started dating, bringing the children with her. How easily Emma and Jake accepted me as their father figure, as if they were used to temporary men in their lives. The way Sarah always made decisions about their medical care, school enrollment, everything important. Because legally, I had no say. I was never their father. I was a convenient replacement. At 5 a.m., I give up on sleep and slip downstairs to my study. The house creaks around me, familiar sounds that now feel foreign. I dial Marcus Webb's number, knowing he's an early riser. "Webb." His voice is gravelly with sleep. "It's Tom Harrison. Sarah told me the children aren't biologically mine." A pause. "Voluntarily?" "She brought it up while we were watching TV. Said their father is someone named Marcus, and that you, someone named David, thinks he might want to be involved again." "David Morrison, her boyfriend. And yes, I've been investigating Marcus Chen. That's the biological father's full name." I grab a pen and paper. "What did you find?" "Interesting timing on your wife's revelation. Marcus Chen filed paperwork yesterday requesting a paternity test and potential custody rights." The words hit like physical blows. "What?" "Gets better. The paperwork was filed by David Morrison's law firm. Seems like they're orchestrating this whole situation." I sink into my desk chair, overwhelmed by the complexity of the conspiracy unfolding around me. Why would the biological father suddenly want involvement? Money, most likely. Chen's been unemployed for 2 years, has a gambling problem and significant debt. Someone probably offered him a financial incentive to complicate your custody situation. Someone like David Morrison. That would be my guess. If Chen challenges your parental rights while Sarah simultaneously files for divorce, you're caught between 2 legal battles with no biological claim to the children. The strategy is brilliant in its cruelty. Even if I challenge the fraudulent adoption papers, Marcus Chen's paternity claim could supersede everything. Sarah and David have created a legal maze designed to ensure I lose everything. How long do I have? Chen's petition triggers a mandatory waiting period, but if Sarah files for divorce and emergency custody simultaneously— Webb pauses, calculating. Days, not weeks. Then we move today. Agreed. I'll need you to document everything. The burner phone, the text messages, Sarah's admission about the children's paternity. And Tom? Yeah? Once we start this, there's no going back. Your marriage is over. The question is whether you walk away with anything left. After hanging up, I sit in my study as dawn breaks outside my window. The golden light streaming through the glass illuminates the family photos on my desk. Emma's gap-toothed grin from her first day of school. Jake covered in paint from an art project. The 4 of us at last Christmas opening presents. All of it built on lies. But as I study those photos, something fierce and protective surges in my chest. Biology doesn't define love. Legal documents don't create bonds. Those children may not share my DNA, but they share my heart. I've been their father in every way that matters for 3 years. I'm not walking away without a fight. The sound of footsteps on the stairs interrupts my thoughts. Sarah appears in the doorway, wrapped in her silk robe, hair mussed from sleep. "You're up early," she observes, her voice carefully neutral. "Couldn't sleep after our conversation?" She steps into the room, and I catch that scent again. David's cologne clinging to her skin even hours later. How long has she been coming to bed smelling like another man? "I know last night was a lot to process," she says, settling into the chair across from my desk. "Maybe we should continue that conversation now." "I'd like that." Sarah arranges herself carefully, crossing her legs and folding her hands, a practiced pose that screams preparation for difficult negotiations. "Tom, I want you to know that none of this changes how grateful I am for everything you've done for Emma and Jake. You've been a wonderful father figure to them." There's that phrase again, delivered like a scalpel to carefully excise me from their lives. "I don't want to be their father figure," I say quietly. "I want to be their father." "But you understand that's not really possible, don't you? Not legally, not biologically. Love makes families, Sarah, not paperwork." Something cold flickers in her eyes. "Love is important, of course, but so is stability, security. The children deserve to know their real father." "Marcus Chen, you mean? The man who abandoned them?" Sarah's facade slips for just a moment, revealing surprise that I know the biological father's full name. She recovers quickly. "People change, Tom. Marcus has gotten his life together. He wants to be involved now." "How convenient. And I suppose David Morrison is helping facilitate this reunion?" Now Sarah's composure cracks completely. Color drains from her face as she realizes how much I know. Who told you about David?" "Does it matter? The question is why you've been lying to me for months while planning to steal my children." "They're not your children." The words explode from her with surprising venom. "They never were. You were a placeholder, Tom. A convenient father figure while I figured out what I really wanted." The brutal honesty is almost refreshing after months of manipulation. "And what you really wanted was David Morrison." "David understands me in ways you never could. He appreciates my intelligence, my ambition. With you, I was just a housewife playing mommy to someone else's children." "You chose that life. I never asked you to give up anything." "Didn't you? Every time you came home talking about your important work, your big meetings, your corporate achievements. What was I supposed to think? That my life managing your household was equally valuable?" The resentment in her voice reveals years of carefully hidden anger. How long has she felt this way? How long has she been planning her escape? "Why didn't you just leave?" I ask. "Why all the deception and manipulation?" Sarah's laugh is bitter. "Because despite your regular guy act, you're worth $2 million in assets, Tom. The house, the investments, your 401k, the life insurance. Walking away meant giving up half of everything we'd built together. So you decided to take it all." "I decided to be smart about my future. David showed me how to protect myself and the children from the chaos of a bitter divorce." "By committing fraud." "By ensuring my children's stability," she snaps. "Emma and Jake need security, not some protracted custody battle that serves no one's interests." "Except they're not just your children. I love them too." "But you have no legal claim to them, none. And after David and I are married, he'll adopt them properly. They'll have a real father who can provide for them." The casual dismissal of 3 years of fatherhood takes my breath away. In Sarah's mind, I'm already erased, a temporary inconvenience to be managed and discarded. "What about what Emma and Jake want? Don't they get a say in who their father is?" They're children, Tom. They'll adapt. Children are more resilient than adults like to believe. You're going to tell them I chose work over family, aren't you? That I abandoned them. Sarah has the grace to look slightly ashamed. I'll tell them the truth, that sometimes families change, and that doesn't mean anyone stopped loving them. But you will tell them I stopped loving them, eventually. It'll be easier for them if they believe you moved on. Clean breaks heal faster than prolonged goodbyes. The calculated cruelty of her plan takes my breath away. Not only will she steal my children, but she'll poison their memories of me to make the theft easier to live with. Sarah, please, don't do this. Whatever problems we have, we can work them out. The kids need stability, not upheaval. The kids need a real family, not this artificial construction we've been maintaining. I am their real family. No, Tom, you're not. You never were. And the sooner you accept that, the easier this will be for everyone. She stands up, smoothing down her robe with hands that shake slightly. The conversation has taken more out of her than she wants to admit. David is filing papers today, she continues. I suggest you hire a good lawyer, because this doesn't have to be acrimonious if you're reasonable about it. Reasonable meaning I walk away quietly and let you rewrite history. Reasonable meaning you accept reality and focus on building a new life for yourself. You're still young, Tom. You can have your own children someday. The suggestion that I can simply replace Emma and Jake with biological offspring reveals how fundamentally Sarah misunderstands love. I don't want other children, I want my children. But they're not mine. I know, you've made that very clear. Sarah pauses at the doorway, her expression almost pitying. I'm sorry it has to be this way, I really am. But this is what's best for everyone in the long run. After she leaves, I sit in my study surrounded by the wreckage of my life. Everything I thought I knew about my family, my marriage, my future, all of it has been carefully constructed lies. But as I look at the photos on my desk again, I realize something Sarah doesn't understand. Love isn't reasonable. It doesn't calculate costs and benefits. It doesn't care about biology or legal documents. It just fights. And I'm going to fight for my children with everything I have left. By noon, I'm sitting in attorney Patricia Chen's office. No relation to Marcus Chen, she assures me with grim humor. Webb recommended her as one of the city's best family law attorneys, someone who specializes in complex custody cases involving fraud and deception. Patricia Chen is a small woman with steel gray hair and eyes that have seen every variation of human betrayal. Her office walls display an impressive collection of legal degrees and family photos that suggest she understands the stakes of the battles she fights. Mr. Harrison, I've reviewed the materials Mr. Webb provided, and I have to be frank with you. This is an uphill battle. The sterile smell of the law office, industrial carpet and recycled air, makes my stomach clench, but I force myself to focus. How uphill? Your wife has been methodical. The adoption papers, even if fraudulent, have been processed and recorded. You're listed as unknown father on official documents. The children have been living with her as their sole legal guardian for months. Patricia spreads the documents across her desk like evidence at a crime scene. However, the fraud itself gives us grounds to challenge everything. Forged signatures, false statements to the court, conspiracy to deny parental rights. These are serious felonies. What are my realistic chances? Of getting the adoption overturned? 60%, maybe 70% if we can prove clear fraud. Of gaining custody or visitation rights? She pauses, studying my face. Much lower. You have no biological connection to the children, no legal standing prior to their relationship with your wife. The odds feel crushing, but I've come too far to give up now. What do you need from me? Everything. Every document, every conversation, every piece of evidence that shows your wife's deception. We need to build a case that demonstrates both her unfitness as a mother due to criminal behavior and your fitness as a parent despite the lack of biological connection. Patricia outlines a strategy that feels like military planning. Document Sarah's affair and hidden assets. Prove the conspiracy between Sarah, David Morrison, and Marcus Chen. Establish my role as the children's psychological father through testimony from teachers, neighbors, and family friends. There's something else, Patricia adds. Mr. Webb mentioned that Marcus Chen has filed for paternity rights. If he's granted those rights, it could complicate your case significantly. Even if he was paid to file them? We'd have to prove that, which means proving David Morrison orchestrated the entire scheme. Difficult but not impossible. Patricia pulls out a legal pad and begins making notes. I'll need character references from anyone who can speak to your relationship with the children. Teachers, coaches, neighbors, family members. We want to establish you as their primary psychological father. Sarah will argue that she's been their primary caregiver. Which is why we need to document every instance of your involvement in their lives. School events you attended, medical appointments you took them to, homework you helped with. Everything that shows active, engaged parenting. As we discuss strategy, I feel a familiar weight settling in my chest. The fight ahead will be public, ugly, and expensive. It will require me to air my private pain in court documents and testimony. Worst of all, it will inevitably hurt Emma and Jake, who will be caught in the middle of a battle they don't understand. But the alternative, walking away and letting Sarah erase me from their lives, is unthinkable. One more thing, Patricia says as our meeting concludes. Don't confront your wife about the legal proceedings until after we file. If she realizes how much evidence we have, she might try to relocate with the children before we can obtain restraining orders. How long before we file? 48 hours. I want everything documented and our case airtight before we make our move. The drive home feels surreal, like I'm traveling through someone else's life. The familiar streets of my neighborhood look the same, but everything has changed. I'm no longer a husband driving home to his family. I'm a man preparing for war. I stop at the bank and open a separate checking account, transferring enough money to cover legal fees and living expenses. If Sarah is hiding assets, I need to protect myself financially. The teller processes the transaction with professional efficiency, unaware that she's facilitating the first move in my counterattack. Next stop, a secure storage facility across town. I rent a small unit and begin moving copies of important documents, photographs, and personal items that I can't risk losing if Sarah tries to destroy evidence or lock me out of the house. The storage unit smells like metal and dust, a far cry from the warm scents of home. As I stack boxes of family photos and legal documents in the sterile space, I feel like I'm preparing for my own exile. But I'm also preparing to fight back. That evening, I sit at the kitchen table helping Jake with his math homework while Sarah prepares dinner. The domestic scene feels both precious and heartbreaking. How many more of these ordinary moments do I have left? "Daddy, this is hard," Jake complains, erasing his answer for the third time. "That's okay, buddy. Hard things just mean we get to be proud when we figure them out." He grins at me, gap-toothed and trusting, and my chest tightens with love and desperation. This child, who calls me daddy and comes to me for help with homework and comfort after nightmares, how can any legal document say he's not my son? "Tom?" Sarah's voice carries a note of forced casualness. "I need to go out for a while after dinner. Book club meeting." Another lie, delivered as smoothly as ever. Book club meets on Wednesdays, not Fridays. And Sarah hasn't mentioned reading anything lately except legal documents, I'm sure. "No problem. The kids and I will find something fun to do." I catch the flicker of surprise in her eyes. Usually I'd offer to help clean up first, or ask when she'd be home. The change in my routine registers as a potential threat. "It might run late," she adds, testing my reaction. "Take your time, we'll be fine." After dinner, while Sarah gets ready for her book club, I help Emma practice her spelling words and read bedtime stories to both children. These moments feel stolen now, precious beyond measure, because they might be numbered. "Daddy?" Emma asks as I tuck her into bed. "Are you and Mommy fighting?" The question hits like a physical blow. Children always know more than adults think they do. "Why do you ask, sweetheart?" "You've been sad lately, and Mommy's been different." I sit on the edge of her bed, choosing my words carefully. Sometimes grown-ups have problems they need to work out. But no matter what happens, your Mommy and I both love you and Jake very much. "Are you going to get divorced like Emma Peterson's parents?" The direct question forces me to confront the reality I've been avoiding. These children need honesty, not false reassurance. "I don't know yet, sweetheart. But if we do, it won't change how much we love you." She nods solemnly, wise beyond her 9 years. "Emma Peterson says divorce isn't so bad. She gets 2 bedrooms now and twice as many birthday presents." I force a smile. That sounds like Emma Peterson is making the best of a difficult situation. "Will we still live in this house?" "I don't know yet. But wherever you live, you'll always have people who love you and want to take care of you." After I kiss her goodnight and turn off the light, I stand in her doorway for a moment, memorizing the sight of her small form under the covers, surrounded by stuffed animals and picture books. Tomorrow, I start fighting for the right to continue tucking her in. Sarah leaves for her book club around 8 p.m., kissing me goodbye with lips that taste like lies. I wait 15 minutes after her car pulls out of the driveway, then begin my own covert mission. Using the voice recording app on my phone, I document everything: Sarah's belongings, her computer files, the layout of the house that may no longer be my home soon. If she's planning to claim I was an absent father, I need evidence of my presence in every room. In our bedroom, I find Sarah's burner phone in its hiding place and photograph the recent text conversations. The messages with David Morrison have become more explicit, planning not just their future together, but the specific timeline for removing me from the children's lives. Tom's starting to suspect something. We need to move faster. "Marcus Chen is ready to file whenever you give the word." "What about the kids? They're attached to Tom." Children adapt. Better to make the break clean and quick. The casual discussion of severing my relationship with Emma and Jake makes my hands shake with rage. To them, I'm an obstacle to be removed, not a person who loves those children desperately. I'm photographing the messages when I hear a car in the driveway. Sarah's home early from her fictional book club, and I'm standing in our bedroom with her secret phone in my hands. Panic floods my system as her footsteps approach the front door. I quickly return the phone to its hiding place and grab a book from my nightstand, arranging myself on the bed as if I've been reading all evening. "Tom!" Sarah's voice echoes from downstairs. "I'm home." "Up here," I call back, proud of how normal my voice sounds despite my racing heart. She appears in the doorway moments later, and I notice she's changed clothes since leaving the house. The dress she wore to dinner has been replaced by jeans and a sweater, clothes more suitable for a casual evening with a lover than a formal book club meeting. "How was book club?" I ask. "Great. We're reading this fascinating novel about a woman who discovers her husband has been living a double life." The irony is so thick I almost laugh. Sounds like an interesting premise. It is. Makes you wonder how well we really know the people closest to us. Sarah's words feel like both a threat and a confession. How well do I know her? Apparently, not at all. As she gets ready for bed, I watch her through new eyes. Every gesture, every expression, every casual comment feels loaded with hidden meaning. This woman I've shared a bed with for 8 years is a stranger. Someone capable of elaborate deception and heartless manipulation. But I'm no longer the naive husband she's been manipulating for months. Tomorrow, Patricia Chen will file papers that will shatter Sarah's carefully constructed plans. The woman who thought she held all the cards is about to discover that I've been building my own hand. And I'm ready to play it. The papers are served at 10:17 a.m. on a Tuesday while Sarah is dropping the kids at school. I know the exact time because I'm sitting in my office, staring at my phone, waiting for Patricia Chen's text confirming that the process server has found her. Papers served. Expect fireworks. My hands tremble as I read the message. After months of being outmaneuvered and deceived, I've finally made the first offensive move. The legal documents challenge the fraudulent adoption, request emergency custody hearings, and formally accuse Sarah of conspiracy, fraud, and parental alienation. There's no going back now. I don't have to wait long for Sarah's response. My phone explodes with calls and texts starting at 10:23 a.m. What the hell is this? How dare you? Call me right now. I let the calls go to voicemail and continue working, or at least pretending to work while my stomach churns with anxiety and adrenaline. Around noon, Sarah storms into my office building. My assistant, Janet, buzzes my phone. Mr. Harrison, your wife is here and she seems upset. Send her in. Sarah bursts through my office door like a hurricane, her face flushed with rage and her eyes blazing. She's clutching the legal papers in one white-knuckled fist. You son of a bitch, she hisses, slamming the documents onto my desk. You actually think you can take my children away from me? Please close the door, I say calmly, unless you want the entire office to hear this conversation. She kicks the door shut so hard it rattles in its frame, then whirls to face me with fury that would be terrifying if I hadn't been expecting it. How long have you been planning this? She demands. About as long as you've been planning to steal my children and disappear with your boyfriend. The direct accusation stops her cold. Color drains from her face as she realizes I know about David Morrison. I don't know what you think you know. I know about David. I know about Marcus Chen. I know about your plans to move to Oregon. I lean back in my chair, studying her shocked expression. I know about the burner phone, the secret bank accounts, the private investigator you hired to find dirt on me. Sarah sinks into the chair across from my desk, the fight temporarily draining out of her as she processes how thoroughly her deceptions have been exposed. You had me investigated, she says finally, her voice hollow. After I discovered you were investigating me, yes. Turnabout is fair play. Those children are mine, Tom. Mine. You have no legal claim to them whatsoever. Because you forged documents to make sure of that. I protected them. I protected our family from the chaos of... You protected yourself, I interrupt. Everything you did was about securing your own future with David Morrison. The children were just assets to be transferred. Sarah's mask finally slips completely, revealing the cold calculation underneath. Those children deserve better than a part-time father who's married to his career. I was never a part-time father. I was the father who tucked them in every night, helped with homework, attended every school play and soccer game. You systematically documented me as absent because you were building a case against me. I was building a life, she explodes, jumping to her feet. Do you have any idea what it's like being married to someone who treats you like a housekeeper? Coming home every day to talk about your important work while I manage your domestic life like hired help. The resentment pouring out of her is years deep, bitter, and toxic. How long has she felt this way? How long has she been planning her escape? You never told me you were unhappy. Would you have listened? Really listened? Or would you have suggested I find a hobby while you went back to your precious spreadsheets? Her accusations sting because they contain threads of truth. I did work long hours. I did talk about my job more than I asked about her day. But I never treated her like hired help. Or at least, I never intended to. Sarah, if you were that miserable, why didn't you just leave? Why all this elaborate deception? Because I'm not stupid, Tom. Walking away from this marriage meant giving up half of everything we built together. This house, your investments, your pension, all of it would have been split down the middle. So you decided to take it all? I decided to be smart about securing my children's future. Emma and Jake deserve stability and security, not some messy custody battle that traumatizes them. They deserve to keep the father they've known for 3 years. They deserve their real father, Sarah screams, her composure finally shattering completely. Marcus is their biological parent. He has rights. Marcus Chen abandoned them. You told me yourself he wanted nothing to do with them. People change. He's clean now. He has a job. He wants to be involved in their lives. He wants the money David Morrison is paying him to file for custody. Sarah's face goes white. That's not... You can't prove... Actually, I can. Webb has financial records showing payments from Morrison's law firm to Chen. Your boyfriend bought himself a biological father to complicate my custody case. The revelation hits Sarah like a physical blow. She staggers slightly, gripping the back of the chair for support. You're lying. I have bank records, Sarah, canceled checks, a paper trail that leads directly back to your conspiracy to steal my children. For a moment, she looks genuinely shocked, as if she hadn't realized the full extent of David Morrison's manipulation. Then her expression hardens again. It doesn't matter. Marcus has biological rights that supersede anything you can claim, and when he's granted custody, I'll be there as their mother to provide stability. And David Morrison will conveniently adopt them once you're married. David loves those children. David has never met those children. This is all about eliminating me from their lives so you can start fresh with your new husband. Sarah begins pacing my office like a caged animal, her movements sharp and agitated. The scent of her perfume fills the small space, but it's mixed with something else now, the sharp odor of panic sweat. You can't take them from me, she says, her voice rising. I'm their mother. I've raised them since they were babies. And I've raised them since they were toddlers. But you're the one trying to take them away from the only father they've ever known. You're not their father. Yes, I am. Biology doesn't make fathers, Sarah. Love does. Commitment does. Being there every day does. She stops pacing and turns to face me, her eyes blazing with a fury that makes me instinctively lean back in my chair. If you try to take my children, I will destroy you, she says, her voice deadly quiet. I will tell them you abandoned them for your career. I will make sure they know you chose work over family. I will poison every memory they have of you. The threat hangs in the air between us like a weapon. This is what I've been afraid of, that Sarah's need to win would override any concern for the children's emotional well-being. You would hurt Emma and Jake just to hurt me? I would protect Emma and Jake from a prolonged custody battle that serves no one's interests but your ego. My ego? Sarah, I love those children. I've loved them since the day I met them. I've been their father in every way that matters for 3 years. But you're not their father. Don't you understand? You never were. You were a convenience, Tom. A placeholder until something better came along. The words are designed to wound, and they succeed. But underneath the pain, something else ignites. A fierce protectiveness that makes my voice steady and dangerous. If that's how you really feel, then you're right. This marriage is over, but I'm not walking away from Emma and Jake without a fight. You'll lose. Maybe. But I'll make sure they know I fought for them. I'll make sure they understand that someone loved them enough to battle the legal system for the right to be their father. Sarah laughs, but there's no humor in it. You think they'll thank you for putting them through a custody battle? For making them choose between parents? Children don't appreciate noble gestures, Tom. They appreciate stability. They appreciate honesty, something you've never given them. I've given them everything: a home, security, love. You've given them lies. You've built their entire sense of family on deception. Sarah grabs the legal papers from my desk and waves them in my face. These papers will traumatize them more than anything I've ever done. These papers are my attempt to save them from being kidnapped by their mother and her boyfriend. Kidnapped? They're my children. Moving them across the country to live with a man they've never met while telling them their father abandoned them? What would you call that? For the first time in our confrontation, Sarah looks uncertain. The righteousness has drained from her posture, replaced by something that might be doubt. It wouldn't be like that, she says, but her voice lacks conviction. Wouldn't it? Emma already knows something's wrong. She asked me last night if we're getting divorced. Sarah's face crumples slightly. You told her? I told her that sometimes grown-ups have problems, but that doesn't change how much we love her. God, Tom, you can't discuss this with them. They're too young to understand. They're smart enough to know when the adults in their lives are lying to them. The accusation hits home. Sarah sinks back into the chair, looking suddenly exhausted. I never wanted it to be like this, she whispers. Then don't let it be like this. We can work something out that doesn't involve fraud and deception. She looks up at me with eyes that are bright with unshed tears. It's too late for that. It's not too late. We can go to mediation, work out a custody arrangement that puts the children first. You don't understand. David's already started the paperwork to have you removed as their legal guardian. Marcus is filing for emergency custody based on parental alienation. The revelation hits like a sledgehammer. Parental alienation? Against who? Against you. They're claiming you've been systematically turning the children against their biological father. The accusation is so absurd, so completely upside down, that I can barely process it. Sarah, Marcus Chen has had no contact with those children for 3 years. How can I alienate them from someone who doesn't exist in their lives? The argument is that you've created an artificial family structure that prevents them from knowing their real father. Their real father abandoned them. Their real father was denied access by a controlling stepfather who wanted to replace him. The legal strategy is brilliant in its cynicism. David Morrison has taken every positive thing I've done as a father and twisted it into evidence of manipulation and control. You're going to let them destroy me like this? Sarah won't meet my eyes. I'm going to protect my children. By lying about the man who's loved them for 3 years? By ending a situation that was never supposed to be permanent? The casual dismissal of our family cuts deeper than all her other betrayals combined. In Sarah's mind, Emma and Jake's relationship with me was always meant to be temporary, a stopgap measure until something better came along. Get out of my office, I say quietly. Tom, get out? Before I say something we'll both regret. Sarah stands slowly, smoothing down her skirt with hands that tremble slightly. At the door, she pauses and looks back. I'm sorry it has to be this way, I really am. No, you're not. If you were sorry, you'd stop this before it destroys everyone we both claim to love. I can't stop it now. Too many people are involved. You mean David Morrison won't let you stop it? David wants what's best for our future. David wants what's best for David, and you're too blinded by whatever he's promised you to see that you're sacrificing your children's emotional well-being for your own selfish desires. Sarah's face hardens again. My children will be fine. They're resilient. Your children are about to lose the only father they've ever known. But I'm sure they'll get over it, right? Just like you got over loving me. I never... She stops, the words catching in her throat. Never what? Never loved me? I know that now. The question is whether you ever loved them enough to put their needs before your own. Sarah leaves without answering, but her silence tells me everything I need to know. As the door closes behind her, I sink into my chair and put my head in my hands. The battle has officially begun, and it's going to be uglier than I ever imagined. But somewhere across town, 2 children are eating lunch at school, unaware that their world is about to be turned upside down by the adults who claim to love them. I have to find a way to protect them from the worst of what's coming, even if I can't protect myself. The restraining order arrives 3 days later, delivered by a process server who apologizes as he hands me the papers. The document is coldly professional, accusing me of harassment, intimidation, and potential harm to minor children. It orders me to stay away from the family home, the children's schools, and any location where Sarah or the children might be present. I'm reading the legal language in my car outside my office building when the full implications hit me. Sarah has moved faster than we anticipated, painting me as a danger to the very children I'm fighting to protect. The irony tastes like copper in my mouth. My phone buzzes with a call from Patricia Chen. Tom, I assume you've seen the restraining order? Just now. How is this possible? Emergency filing based on alleged threats and erratic behavior. Sarah's claiming you became violent during your office confrontation, and that she fears for the children's safety. The accusation is so far from the truth that I almost laugh. I never touched her. I never even raised my voice above normal conversation level. I believe you, but we need to be very careful how we respond. Any violation of the restraining order, even accidental, will be used against you in custody proceedings. So I can't see Emma and Jake at all? Not until our hearing next week. I know it's hard, but we need to play this by the book. Hard doesn't begin to describe the crushing weight in my chest. Tonight, for the first time in 3 years, I won't be reading bedtime stories or tucking my children in. They'll go to sleep wondering where I am, and Sarah will spin whatever story serves her purposes. There's something else, Patricia continues. Marcus Chen has filed for emergency custody based on parental alienation claims. The hearing is scheduled for Friday. 5 days from now. 5 days to build a defense against charges that you've systematically prevented the children from knowing their biological father. I lean back against my car seat, overwhelmed by the complexity of the legal maze Sarah and David Morrison have constructed around me. How do we defend against something that's completely backwards? By proving the truth. Chen abandoned these children 3 years ago and has had no contact since. We need documentation of that abandonment. Witnesses who can testify to your role as their primary father figure. Evidence that this sudden custody claim is financially motivated. What about the forged adoption papers? Still working on that. The handwriting analysis is promising, but we need more evidence to prove deliberate fraud. After hanging up, I sit in my car in the gathering dusk, watching normal people leave their offices to go home to their families. The simple act of driving home has been stolen from me by a legal document that treats me like a criminal. I end up at a motel across town. Nothing fancy, just a clean room with a bed and a TV to drown out the silence. The echo of my footsteps in the empty space feels like a preview of the rest of my life. But giving up isn't an option. Emma and Jake are counting on me, even if they don't know it yet. The next morning, I begin fighting back with everything I have. I call Emma's teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, who remembers every parent-teacher conference I attended, every school project I helped with, every time I picked up a sick child from the nurse's office. "Mr. Harrison, Emma talks about you constantly," she tells me over the phone. "You're clearly a very involved father. Is everything all right?" I explain the situation without going into details about Sarah's betrayal. Mrs. Rodriguez agrees to provide a written statement about my involvement in Emma's education and development. Similar calls to Jake's teacher, their pediatrician, and the parents of their friends yield the same result. Everyone remembers me as an engaged, loving father. Several people express shock that my parental rights are being challenged. "Tom, I've seen you at every soccer game, every school play, every birthday party," says Jennifer Miller, whose daughter is Emma's best friend. "If you're not Emma's real dad, then I don't know what a real dad looks like." The support is encouraging, but I know it may not be enough to overcome the biological claims of Marcus Chen and the legal maneuvering of David Morrison. Webb calls with updates on his investigation. "Morrison's been busy. He's managed to get Chen into a substance abuse program and found him a job at a construction company. On paper, Chen looks like a reformed man trying to reconnect with his children. But it's all for show." "Completely. My sources say Chen has no real interest in the kids. He's doing this for the money Morrison is paying him, but proving that in court will be difficult." "What about the payments?" "Morrison's too smart to leave obvious tracks. The money comes through intermediaries, legal fees for other cases, consulting payments that could be legitimate. Every avenue seems blocked by David Morrison's careful planning. He's anticipated our moves and constructed counter-arguments for every piece of evidence we might present." That evening, I record a video message for Emma and Jake on my phone. I know I can't send it to them directly because of the restraining order, but I need to say the words, even if they'll never hear them. "Hi, sweetheart," I say to Emma's imagined face. "I want you to know that Daddy is fighting very hard to come home to you. Sometimes grown-ups have to deal with complicated problems, but that doesn't mean anyone stopped loving you. You are the most amazing little girl in the world, and I'm so proud to be your dad." I record a similar message for Jake, telling him about the dinosaur book I bought him that's sitting on my hotel nightstand. These videos feel like letters from a war zone, messages that may never reach their intended recipients. The days blur together in a haze of legal meetings and evidence gathering. Patricia and I work around the clock to build our case, but every piece of good news comes with a corresponding setback. The handwriting analysis confirms that my signatures on the adoption papers are forgeries, but Sarah claims she signed them with my permission using a pre-signed document, a common practice for busy couples, her lawyer argues. Character witnesses line up to testify about my role as the children's father, but Morrison produces his own witnesses who will claim that Sarah often complained about my absence and emotional distance. Marcus Chen submits to DNA testing that confirms his biological relationship to the children, while my emotional bond with them, 3 years of daily love and care, has no legal weight in comparison. On Thursday night, less than 24 hours before the emergency custody hearing, I get an unexpected call from Webb. "Tom, I think we caught a break. Chen's girlfriend called my office. Apparently she's tired of watching him take money to pretend he wants kids he's never met." "She's willing to testify?" "Better than that. She recorded conversations between Chen and Morrison. She wants immunity in exchange for her cooperation." For the first time in weeks, I feel something that might be hope. "What kind of conversations?" "Morrison coaching Chen on what to say in court. Discussions about the financial arrangement. Most importantly, Chen admitting he has no real interest in the children and plans to disappear again once the custody battle is over. That could blow their entire case apart." "It could, but we need to move fast. If Morrison realizes his conspiracy has been exposed, He might try to silence the girlfriend or disappear Chen altogether. I spend Thursday night in my hotel room, staring at the ceiling and thinking about Emma and Jake sleeping in their beds across town. Tomorrow's hearing will determine whether I ever get to tuck them in again, but for the first time since this nightmare began, I have a real chance of winning. The question is whether it will be enough to overcome months of careful planning by people who view my children as pawns in a larger game. As dawn breaks outside my hotel window, I realize something has changed inside me during these weeks of fighting. I'm no longer the naive husband who trusted blindly and accepted whatever story he was told. I've been reborn as someone who fights for what matters, no matter the cost. And what matters most is getting my children back. The courthouse smells like old wood and anxiety as I sit beside Patricia Chen in the echoing hallway outside Family Courtroom 3. The polished floors reflect fluorescent lighting that makes everyone look sickly, and the constant murmur of desperate voices discussing custody arrangements creates a soundtrack of human misery. Emma and Jake won't be here today. They're too young to testify, and both sides agreed to spare them the trauma of appearing in court. But their absence feels wrong, like we're deciding their fate without their input. Sarah sits on the opposite side of the hallway with David Morrison, looking composed and professional in a navy blue dress that screams responsible mother. She avoids eye contact with me, but I catch her stealing glances when she thinks I'm not looking. Marcus Chen slouches in a chair near the windows, clearly uncomfortable in his ill-fitting suit. He keeps checking his phone and looking around like he'd rather be anywhere else. This is the man claiming he desperately wants to father the children he abandoned 3 years ago. "Remember," Patricia whispers, "stay calm no matter what they say about you. Morrison is going to try to provoke an emotional response that makes you look unstable." At 9 a.m. sharp, we're called into the courtroom. Judge Barbara Hensley presides, a stern woman in her 60s with gray hair and eyes that have seen every variation of family dysfunction. Her reputation for no-nonsense proceedings precedes her. "This is an emergency hearing regarding custody of minors Emma Chen and Jacob Chen," Judge Hensley announces. "We're here to determine immediate placement pending full custody proceedings." Chen, not Emma and Jake Harrison, the names they've used since they were toddlers. The legal system has already erased my connection to them. Morrison stands to present his case, every inch the polished attorney as he argues for Marcus Chen's biological rights and Sarah's role as the children's devoted mother. He paints me as an unstable interloper who has interfered with the natural family unit. "Your Honor, Mr. Harrison has systematically alienated these children from their biological father through manipulation and control. Despite Miss Harrison's attempts to facilitate contact between Mr. Chen and his children, Mr. Harrison has blocked every effort at reconciliation." The lies flow smoothly from Morrison's mouth. According to his version of events, Marcus Chen has been trying to reconnect with his children for months, but I've prevented any contact out of jealousy and possessiveness. Furthermore, Your Honor, Mr. Harrison's recent behavior has become increasingly erratic and threatening. Miss Harrison fears for her safety and the safety of her children. When Patricia rises to cross-examine Marcus Chen, his nervousness becomes immediately apparent. He sweats under the courtroom lights and stumbles over basic questions about the children's lives. "Mr. Chen, what is Emma's favorite color?" Pink?" "What grade is she in?" Fourth grade?" "When is Jake's birthday?" Sometime in the summer." Patricia systematically demonstrates that Chen knows nothing about the children he claims to want custody of. He can't name their favorite foods, their friends, their fears, or their dreams. He's a stranger trying to claim children he's never bothered to know. But biology trumps emotional bonds in family court. and Judge Hensley seems unmoved by Chen's obvious ignorance about his offspring. Then Patricia calls her surprise witness. "Your Honor, I'd like to call Christina Valdez to testify." A young woman with tired eyes and defiant posture takes the stand. Morrison's face goes white as he realizes his conspiracy is about to be exposed. "Miss Valdez, what is your relationship to Marcus Chen?" "I live with him. We've been together for about 8 months. Has Mr. Chen discussed his children with you?" "He's mentioned them, mostly to complain about having to pretend he wants them back." The courtroom erupts. Sarah gasps audibly, and Morrison jumps to his feet with objections that Judge Hensley overrules with sharp efficiency. "Please continue, Miss Valdez." "Marcus has been getting paid to file for custody. He doesn't want kids. He can barely take care of himself. But this lawyer guy promised him enough money to pay off his debts if he goes through with the court case." Patricia plays the recorded conversations on a small speaker that fills the courtroom with Marcus Chen's voice discussing the financial arrangement and his plans to disappear once the custody battle serves its purpose. "I just gotta act like I care about these kids until the court case is over. Then I'm out of here with enough cash to start fresh somewhere else." Judge Hensley's expression grows darker with each revelation. When the recording ends, she fixes Morrison with a stare that could melt steel. "Mr. Morrison, are you prepared to address these allegations of conspiracy and fraud?" Morrison struggles to maintain his composure as his carefully constructed case collapses around him. "Your Honor, this witness is clearly unreliable. Miss Valdez has a criminal record and obvious motivations to—" "I'll determine the credibility of witnesses in my courtroom." Judge Hensley cuts him off. "Mr. Chen, do you wish to continue your custody petition in light of this testimony?" Marcus Chen looks like he wants to crawl under the table. The money Morrison promised him isn't worth the felony charges he's now facing for fraud and conspiracy. "No, Your Honor. I withdraw my petition." "Bailiff, please escort Mr. Chen to speak with the district attorney's office regarding potential criminal charges." As Marcus Chen is led away in handcuffs, the courtroom falls silent except for Sarah's quiet sobbing. Her entire legal strategy has just crumbled, and she's facing the possibility of losing her children to the man she tried so hard to erase. But Judge Hensley isn't finished. "Miss Harrison, I'm deeply troubled by the evidence of fraud and conspiracy that has been presented today. Forged adoption documents, conspiracy to deny parental rights, bribery of witnesses, these are serious criminal matters." Sarah's lawyer tries to distance her from Morrison's actions, but the judge sees through the attempts at deflection. However, the primary concern of this court is the welfare of the children involved. Mr. Harrison, you have no biological connection to these children and no legal standing prior to your marriage to Miss Harrison. My heart sinks as I realize that even with Morrison's conspiracy exposed, I may still lose Emma and Jake based on biology alone. Nevertheless, Judge Hensley continues, it is clear that you have served as these children's primary father figure for 3 years. The evidence shows consistent, loving involvement in their daily lives, while their biological father has demonstrated no genuine interest in their welfare. She pauses, consulting her notes while the courtroom holds its breath. I am ordering immediate suspension of the fraudulent adoption documents pending criminal investigation. Miss Harrison, you will retain physical custody of the children, but Mr. Harrison is granted immediate supervised visitation rights pending a full custody hearing in 30 days. It's not everything I wanted, but it's more than I dared hope for an hour ago. I'll get to see Emma and Jake again. Furthermore, Judge Hensley adds, I am referring this matter to the district attorney for investigation of conspiracy, fraud, and corruption charges against all involved parties. As we file out of the courtroom, Sarah catches my arm in the hallway. Her face is streaked with tears, and she looks smaller somehow. diminished by the collapse of her plans. "Tom, please, we need to talk." "Through our lawyers," I reply, but without the anger I expected to feel. The victory feels hollow when I see the fear in her eyes. The children, they need stability. This legal battle is going to traumatize them. The legal battle you started by committing fraud. I know I made mistakes, but we can fix this. We can work something out that's best for everyone. I study her face, looking for signs of manipulation or deception, but all I see is a woman who's finally realized that her actions have consequences. "Sarah, you tried to steal my children and disappear across the country with a man they've never met. Trust isn't something that can be rebuilt overnight. But we have to try. For Emma and Jake." For the first time in months, she's put the children's needs before her own desires. It's a start, but only a start. "We'll see," I say finally. "The supervised visits begin tomorrow. We'll take it one day at a time." As I leave the courthouse with Patricia, I feel something I haven't experienced in weeks: hope. The battle isn't over, but I've won the right to keep fighting for my children. And sometimes, that's enough. 6 months later, I'm standing in the backyard of a house I never thought I'd see again, watching Emma show Jake how to properly swing a baseball bat. The late afternoon sun filters through maple leaves that are just beginning to turn autumn colors, and the air carries the scent of Sarah's homemade apple pie cooling on the kitchen windowsill. The warmth of children's laughter fills the space where suspicion and legal documents once lived. And I find myself memorizing this moment, not because I'm afraid it will be taken away, but because it represents something I thought was lost forever. "Daddy, watch this!" Jake calls out, taking a mighty swing at the plastic ball Emma tosses to him. He misses completely, but grins with such joy that my chest tightens with love. "Great swing, buddy. Keep your eye on the ball." These ordinary moments feel extraordinary after months of legal battles and supervised visits in sterile courthouse rooms. The children adapted to our separation with the resilience kids possess, but I could see the confusion in their eyes when they couldn't understand why they had to see me in strange places with social workers present. Sarah appears on the back porch, wiping her hands on a dish towel, a gesture so familiar it makes me ache with nostalgia for the life we used to share. "Tom, could I talk to you for a minute?" I follow her into the kitchen that was once ours, now technically hers according to our divorce settlement. The space looks the same, but feels different, lighter somehow, as if the weight of deception has been lifted from the walls. "Coffee?" she offers, a peace gesture we've developed over months of careful negotiations. "Thanks." We've learned to be polite with each other, to put the children's needs before our own damaged pride. It wasn't easy. The first few family therapy sessions were brutal exercises in controlled rage and hurt feelings. But Dr. Martinez helped us find ways to communicate without destroying each other. "How are things at the new place?" Sarah asks as she pours coffee into mugs that used to be ours, now just mine on the days I take the children. "Good. Emma loves having her own room, and Jake's obsessed with the backyard swing set. The custody arrangement we finally reached gives me the children Wednesday evenings, every weekend, and alternating holidays. It's not the daily presence I had before, but it's real fatherhood with legal protections that can't be forged away." "And work?" "Better. The promotion came through last month." Sarah nods, genuine warmth in her expression. "I'm glad. You deserve recognition for how hard you work." The comment would have been impossible 6 months ago, when every conversation ended in accusations and legal threats. Now we've found a way to appreciate each other's good qualities while acknowledging the damage we inflicted. Sarah, I say, setting down my coffee mug, I want you to know that I appreciate how you've handled the co-parenting. I know it hasn't been easy. It hasn't been easy for any of us. She studies my face with an expression I can't quite read. Do you think they're okay? Really okay? They're resilient. Kids are more adaptable than we give them credit for. Sometimes I wonder if we did permanent damage with all the fighting and legal drama. We protected them from the worst of it, and they still have both of us in their lives, which is what matters most. Sarah nods, but I can see the guilt she carries about the choices that led us here. David Morrison's law license was suspended for 2 years, and he fled to another state rather than face criminal charges. Sarah's relationship with him collapsed under the weight of his betrayal, and her realization that she'd been manipulated as much as I had. Any word from Morrison? I ask, though I'm not sure I want to know. His lawyer contacted mine last month about the civil suit. He wants to settle out of court. Are you going to? I haven't decided. Part of me wants him to face consequences for what he did to our family, but another part just wants to move forward. We stand in comfortable silence. Two people who once loved each other deeply, and now share something different, but equally profound. A commitment to raising children together despite our personal history. Tom? Sarah's voice is soft, almost hesitant. Do you think you'll ever forgive me? Really forgive me? The question hangs between us like a bridge I'm not sure I'm ready to cross. The betrayal cut so deep that some days I still feel the knife twisting in old wounds. But watching her with Emma and Jake, seeing her genuine remorse and effort to rebuild trust, I feel something shifting. I'm working on it, I answer honestly. Forgiveness isn't a switch I can flip, but I don't hate you anymore, if that helps. Relief flickers across her features. It does help. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I hope someday. Daddy! Mommy! Emma's voice cuts through our serious conversation as she bursts through the back door. Jake hit the ball! He really hit it! We follow her outside to find Jake doing a victory dance around an imaginary home plate while his plastic ball sits triumphantly in the flower bed. Did you see that? Did you see? Jake bounces with excitement as he recounts his athletic achievement with the enthusiasm only 6-year-olds possess. I saw the whole thing, buddy. That was amazing. I scoop him up in a hug that lifts him off the ground, breathing in the scent of grass and childhood that clings to his hair. These are the moments that matter, not the legal victories or the painful revelations, but the simple joy of being present for my children's small triumphs. Can we play catch now? Emma asks. All 4 of us? Sarah and I exchange a look over the children's heads. Playing catch as a family feels dangerously close to pretending we are still married, still an intact unit rather than a carefully negotiated co-parenting arrangement. But Emma's hopeful expression decides it for us. Sure, sweetheart, Sarah says. Let's all play catch. We spend the next hour in the backyard, forming a loose circle and tossing the ball between us. The children giggle when I make deliberately bad throws that force them to dive for catches, and Sarah laughs when Jake's wild tosses send us all scrambling. For a moment it feels like we're a family again. Not the family built on deception and hidden resentments that imploded so spectacularly, but something new, honest if imperfect. As the sun begins to set, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, I realize that I've been reborn into a life I never expected but have learned to embrace. I'm not the naive husband who trusted blindly, nor am I the angry man who fought desperately to reclaim what was stolen. I'm something different now, a father who knows his love is strong enough to survive legal battles and broken trust, a man who learned that families can be rebuilt on different foundations, stronger for having been tested. Time to head inside, Sarah announces as the evening air grows cool. Homework and bath time. "Oh, do we have to?" Jake protests, but he's already moving towards the house, his energy finally flagging after an afternoon of play. "You do, but Daddy will help you with your math problems before he goes home to his apartment," Sarah says, and the casual acknowledgement of our new reality doesn't sting the way it used to. Inside, we fall into the evening routine we've developed over months of careful negotiation. I help Jake with his addition problems while Sarah supervises Emma's reading homework. We've learned to occupy the same space without the tension that once made every interaction feel like walking through a minefield. "Daddy," Emma says as I'm putting on my jacket to leave, "will you come to my school play next week?" "Wouldn't miss it, sweetheart. What's your part again?" "I'm a tree in the forest scene. I have to stand very still and wave my branches." "You'll be the best tree anyone's ever seen." She beams at me with the uncomplicated love that children possess. No lawyers or legal documents can touch the bond we've built through bedtime stories and scraped knees and patience with homework struggles. Jake wraps himself around my legs in a hug that threatens to topple us both. "I don't want you to go home yet." "I know, buddy, but I'll see you Wednesday for dinner, and then this weekend we'll build that model airplane we bought. Promise?" "Promise." Sarah walks me to the front door, a courtesy that's become part of our routine. On the porch, under the yellow glow of the porch light, she looks younger somehow, less burdened by the weight of secrets and deception. "Tom," she says as I'm walking toward my car. "Thank you." "For what?" "For fighting for them, even when I made it almost impossible." The admission costs her something. Pride, maybe, or the last remnants of the justifications she built around her actions. I turn back to face her, studying this woman who was once my wife and is now something harder to define. "They're worth fighting for," I say simply. Yes, they are. I drive back to my apartment through familiar streets that look different now, transformed by the knowledge that I have a place in my children's lives that can't be erased by forged documents or legal manipulation. The small one-bedroom place I rent isn't much. A kitchen, a living room, 2 bedrooms set up for weekend visits, but it's honest in a way our old house never was. On my kitchen table sits a framed photo from last weekend. Emma and Jake at the zoo, grinning beside the penguin exhibit. Their faces are chocolate-smeared from ice cream, and Jake's hair sticks up at impossible angles, but they look happy, secure, loved. That night, I call my parents to update them on the children's latest adventures. The conversation flows easily now, without the careful omissions and half-truths that characterized our talks during the worst of the legal battle. "How's Sarah doing?" my mother asks, the question she's been wanting to voice for months. "Better. We're learning to be good co-parents." "And you? Are you happy, Tom?" The question catches me off guard. Happiness feels like such a simple concept for such a complicated situation. "I'm content," I answer finally. "I have my children in my life, and that's what matters most." "But what about companionship, romance? You're still a young man." "Maybe someday. Right now, I'm focused on being the best father I can be." After hanging up, I sit in my small living room and think about the future. Not the one I'd planned with Sarah, but the one I'm building piece by piece with Emma and Jake. There will be school plays and soccer games, first dates and graduation ceremonies, all the milestones that mark a child's journey to adulthood. I'll be there for all of it, not as a father figure or a placeholder, but as their dad, the man who loves them enough to fight the legal system for the right to remain in their lives. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. For a moment, my chest tightens with old fears. Has David Morrison returned? Is there another legal challenge waiting? But the message is from Christina Valdez. Marcus Chen's ex-girlfriend, who testified on my behalf. Saw the kids at the park with their mom today. They look happy. Thought you should know Marcus moved to Vegas last week. Said he never wants to see this city again. You won. I delete the message and set my phone aside. Marcus Chen's departure feels like the final page of a chapter I'm ready to close. The man who briefly threatened to upend my children's lives with his fraudulent custody claim has returned to the margins where he belongs. But more than that, Christina's words echo in my mind. You won. Except it doesn't feel like winning in any traditional sense. There are no trophies or celebrations, just the quiet satisfaction of having fought for something precious and emerged with it intact, if changed. I won the right to remain Emma and Jake's father. I won the chance to continue shaping their lives and being shaped by theirs in return. I won the opportunity to show them that some fights are worth having, that love is stronger than legal documents, and that families can survive even the worst betrayals if the foundation is built on truth. As I prepare for bed in my small apartment, I think about the man I was a year ago, trusting to the point of naivety, content to let others make decisions about my life, willing to accept whatever story I was told. That man is gone, replaced by someone harder but also more honest. I've been reborn through fire and legal battles into someone who knows the difference between being loved and being used, between trust and blind faith, between a family built on truth and one constructed from convenient lies. Tomorrow, I'll wake up and go to work and live my life with the quiet confidence of a man who fought for what mattered most and didn't lose everything that counted. And Wednesday evening, I'll pick up Emma and Jake for dinner, and we'll talk about their days and help with homework and read bedtime stories in my small apartment that's become a sanctuary for the love we share. It's not the life I planned, but it's a life built on honest foundations, and that makes all the difference. Outside my window, the city settles into its nighttime rhythm, full of other families navigating their own complicated arrangements and broken dreams made whole again. Somewhere across town, Emma and Jake are sleeping peacefully in beds I used to tuck them into every night, dreaming whatever dreams children dream. They know their daddy loves them. They know he fought to stay in their lives. They know that some promises are worth keeping, no matter how difficult the path becomes. And tomorrow, we'll continue building our imperfect, honest, hard-won family, one ordinary moment at a time. The betrayal that nearly destroyed us has become, unexpectedly, the foundation for something stronger. Sarah and I will never be married again, but we've learned to be partners in the most important work either of us will ever do, raising Emma and Jake to be confident, loved, secure children who know that the adults in their lives can be trusted to put their welfare first. In the end, that's what victory looks like. Not the complete restoration of what was lost, but the patient construction of something new and honest from the pieces that remain. I am no longer unknown. I am their father, legally and emotionally, now and always. And that is enough.